Welcome to thetwomics. Today we'll be discussing meaning. This is episode 1. We're definitely going to have another episode because meaning is such a profound thing. We hope you're going to enjoy. Karibuni.
Okay, I know I mentioned about the book I'm currently reading, but there's a book I just finished reading that I think deserves mention. I think also largely because I believe a significant part of our audience might find it quite useful. So it's this book, The Defining Decade. I just recently read it, and I just wish I read that book much earlier because it does help to demystify some of the notions that I feel most of us young people, and especially those who are in their 20s, currently have. Because I think the majority of people these days believe that in your 20s, you sort of now have time to build yourself. There's this feeling that there is time. And the biggest lesson for me in that book was that there is no time to do what you want. Like there's no allowance.
There's no time.
There's no time. Like life is happening now and here. And if you don't take your time if you don't take your 20s seriously, things are not going to turn out well for you. And so the author, Meg J, is a psychologist, and she's worked I'm not sure if he or she, so she has worked with people in their 30s, people in their 20s who come for therapy, and there's this thing that she sees where so it's a lady. There's this thing where she sees where people in their 30s wonder what they were doing in their 20s, and people in their 20s think, no, I'm not at 30. There's no pressure. There's no pressure to think about marriage. There's no pressure about my career. I'm still young. I'm not yet 30. But then you forget that life is happening so quickly. By the time you realize you are 30, you realize, you wonder, you have an entire decade behind you that you can't account for. I think that just hit me in a very significant way.
And this is something that we have to grapple with, because these other clinical psychologists, Professor Jordan Peterson, says that, take responsibility for your life. Like, be a responsible person. Stop looking at other people for your mess ups. Clean your room. You cannot say you want to change
the world.
Black Lives Matter and justice to the Palestinians, bring order to the world, and there is no
and
order.
Your own life is in chaos.
Your own room is in chaos. Start from your room. Take responsibility for your life. In as much as what's her name, J.K. Rowling says there is an expiry date for blaming your parents for steering you in the wrong direction. At some point, you have to realize that you need to take control of your life. And it's very, very urgent because life is happening very quickly. There's a math that is done that every hour that you're wasting is around $50 per hour. So every hour that right now you could be using,
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. That's so every hour that you're wasting watching porn or playing video games or just doing nothing that brings you value, wasting your time and wasting away, is an investment. You're wasting your future because it could be adding value to your future.
You reminded me of a line from that book you're reading that I will never forget.
You had forgotten it, but I've reminded you, but let's go on.
Okay. So there's this part where Peterson talks about, so it's about sacrifice and about this ancient idea about sacrificing to the future. But then there's this line where he says, the future is a judgmental father.
That's a very profound statement.
The future is a judgmental father.
Yeah.
And the future will come back to haunt you for the things that you did not do.
Yeah.
And the things that you did. Sins of omission and sins of commission.
Yeah.
The future will come back.
Yeah.
To remind you, Moretti, when you were in your 20s, you wasted all your money.
Yes.
On alcohol, on
women,
on women, on
Stupid
whatever it
things,
is
yeah.
that people waste money on.
Yeah.
When you are young, you did not take your relationships seriously. When you are young, you did not take your career seriously. The future will come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
And then he expounds that idea of sacrificing to the future. That the thing that thing that we do today, that hard work I'm doing today, I'm working hard so that my tomorrow can be better. And if I don't do this today, tomorrow will remind me that yesterday
you should have been
what
serious.
you are supposed to be doing, you did not do.
It's called something called delayed gratification. I think is one thing that is really lacking in our generation. It's something that also I'm trying to teach myself. Where delayed,
I think it's all something we can do better.
Yes, delayed gratification, where you have this large chunk of money. You have the option of using, revving it up. That's the easiest thing to do. Like, it's easier to go out on a date and spend all that money, or invest in skating boards or whatever they call them. It's easier. But there's another aspect. You could put away that money in a bank and let it sit for 10 years, for example. You delay the gratification that you could get from the money or from the time. So such that...
okay, but a disclaimer, don't put your money in the bank. It's a bad idea.
That's an example. Goodness. Okay. What? So what I'm saying, for example, delayed gratification. For example, this 1 hour that I have free, I could read a book that changes my life. I could do a course that I could invest in the future. That is a lot of work. The alternative is I could just go on Netflix, turn on a Netflix movie and watch it. But if you can teach yourself to delay that gratification, the rewards in the future are usually much better. I have this friend of mine who is very analytical. One of the things I really admire about him is that he's very good at delaying gratification to the point that it challenges me. Like, he's denied himself his salary to finish out his help. I think he may back it 20K. He's within a very short time, like, he decided to go all in. He's held off from doing all these fancy things that his peers are doing, buying cars and doing all these things, so that he can invest in his future, like putting away that money, intentions of buying assets, and look at the future. Look at how the future looks like for this kind of a person. And I have another friend. I'll even mention her. She's phenomenal. She's called Felista. Felisa right now is pursuing her PhD, and she's 27. I want to say 28. Yes. She finished school. She went to PwC. Within PwC's pressure and hard work, she did her master's. She left PwC. Now she's pursuing her PhD. Like, what do you think is in her future? She's the people who become directors of these very blue chip companies very, very soon. At a very, very young age, mnashangaa, who do you know within the industry mnaanza kuongea vibaya ati women sleep their way to the top? No. People are out here investing in their future while you are watching a Netflix movie that for 3 hours, or a series that runs for 2 weeks. And that is why the message of taking responsibility and taking control of your life cannot be overemphasized. Because your brain is wired to take the easier way out. What is easy? Going to hang out with people.
Yeah, the small voice in your head.
Yes. What is easy? Not working out. Ordering food. Cooking an unhealthy meal means cutting things. But what are you doing to your future? Taking all these sugars that we are taking right now. Sugar is sweet. But what about the harmful effect it has on your body? That is, your future will judge you very, very harshly. And that's what I'm saying. That message of taking responsibility for your life and moving in that direction, I think, is very, very urgent. It cannot be overemphasized. I always fight with my sibling, my smaller brother, when I see him not taking responsibility. Like, how are you treating yourself? Are you treating yourself like someone that you care for? Like, how will your future you look at you like? You had the opportunity of doing a course. Did you do it? You had the opportunity of something as basic as just cleaning yourself out. Reading books and material that make your brain grow. How will your future look at you?
So yeah, I agree with all you're saying. So on my side, the question would be, I get what you're saying in terms of looking out for our future. The question I have is, what's the balance of, yes, I'm looking out for my future, because also at old age, like Tito was saying, the future is a cruel or a cruel judgmental father. And I usually get this, there are people who still do work that hard and they put aside things on, let's say they utilize their 20s and 30s effectively. I've known people who've retired at 30 because of how well they use their 20s. And in the end, you have regrets of things not done. So what's the balance of that?
Something Peterson says, pick your poison.
Because life is hard either way.
You see, life is suffering. So I think he preaches that life is suffering and painful, but live life in a meaningful way, in such a way that you will justify your suffering. Definitely you will lose out on something, but whatever you're losing out on, justify it.
Yes. You see, life essentially is completely difficult. Okay. People think because they see these hyper successful Beyoncés and Elon Musks online, thinking that their life is easier because they are rich. But at the end of the day, they still have the same difficulties. They still have the same challenges that we face from an emotional point of view, so to speak. Like the effect of the things that are bedeviling them is the same effect that your rent delaying will have on you. Like from a psychological point of view, Beyonce, when he's cheated on by his hyper successful husband, is the same effect that my unsuccessful friend will feel when cheated on by their good for nothing husband. So from a psychological point of view, the effects are the same, and life is hard, chaotic through and through. You cannot. Peterson says, if you're not having a bad time right now, trust me, in the next 5 years, something tragic and horrible must happen. Are you getting my point?
Yeah, I get your point. I think maybe what I'm asking is, what if your poison is something that it not necessarily brings you, let's say, like you're saying, most of what you're talking about feels very financial and a financial safety net in a way. So, for instance, maybe your poison is, let's take someone like Mahatma Gandhi. He obviously went into something that in a way doesn't have a future safety net, but it's a necessary thing that he did.
Okay, you won the Nobel Prize. So
no, I'm not going for the Nobel Prize. It's essentially, maybe what they was thinking about it is maybe someone who's listening.
But I get your point.
Yeah, someone who's listening and
who's maybe maybe priorities might be different from what you're preaching.
Yeah.
So this is what I'll say. I believe that in a number of books I've been reading, there's a book called Ikigai. Ikigai is a very short book also that I would completely recommend everybody to read. It's about why Japanese people are the longest, oldest living human beings on the planet. It's a very short book. You can finish it within a day or two. And it's also something that also a number of clinical psychologists, including our famous Jordan Peterson, have reiterated that the thing that we should be pursuing in life is not happiness, but meaning. When you're looking back at your life at the age of 90, you might not have lived a very hyper successful, rich life. But if you pursued a life that gave you meaning, whatever that means, you'll end up, that will give you a satisfaction. Yes, a certain fulfillment that supersedes everything. So even that Mahatma Gandhi, you might find that when he looks back at the things that he did, he might not have had a lot of money. He might not have had a lot of, living in the most posh places, but he lived a life of meaning. His life gave him meaning. And that's what I'm saying. Mike, to answer your question, I would say this person should check themselves, should analyze themselves and ask themselves, what gives me meaning? And work towards that. Invest in that. Yeah? If you're very passionate about art, pursue it like your life depends on it. Exert yourself fully in that. That's my point.
Yeah, I get your point. And so
your disagreement?
No, it's not disagreement. It's learning the balance. Because
I do not believe there is necessarily a balance.
Essentially, in like, for instance, when you gave an example of art, I might not necessarily make it in art, but how do I balance it with, like, knowing, like you said, 5 years from now, I might have a big problem. So I have to know how to balance my passion, if it's art, and securing my future. So there is what gives you, it's like you go to work to get paid to fund things you like doing. So it's like I have to have that pursuing that thing that, yes, I might be very broke. You know, I can find meaning in anything. If I might choose to be that lazy guy and still find meaning in something. So it's having that balance of, yes, I want to pursue something that's meaningful, but how do I find that thing that's meaningful to me?
It's not a simple question. It's a deeply philosophical. It's a deep philosophical question.
It's hard.
Yeah, but because again, you have to grapple also with the reality of food. And
Yes,
rent.
yeah, something as simple as that.
And your passions might not be able to give you that. So this is what I think. I think, of course, you have to. Yes. So yeah, then in that case, there's a balance in terms of being able to eat, but also investing in yourself, also investing in your future through meaning. Because one of the most empty lives that you can live, and one of the things that you might regret the most, is looking back at your life and realizing you're just doing things for the sake of doing things. I think the most empty thing, one of the most empty lives is waking up in the morning, going to work and coming back. What happens in between, I think, is what can be filled with things that give your life meaning.
So yeah, before you give Tito the mic, or you can give him that mic. It's
but does it make sense?
It kind of makes sense.
No, in the sense, let me make it make better sense then. As in, I'm saying, I feel that a lot of us, many times we are not, our careers are just means to an end. We are just using our bosses to make rent. No. So no. Yeah. But I'm saying using our bosses in quotes.
Yeah. As you're thinking your point, it's, yes, I get what Tito was saying, that at the end of, you have to pick your poison, but at the end of the day, I think life also should have meaning, and I just don't want to do. I think when something has meaning, I don't think life is as hard as, if someone believes in God and becomes martyred. It's someone who believes there's something greater. There's a greater thing that I'm living for. So that simple thing, maybe someone like me who thinks it's a hard thing to do might not necessarily be a hard thing for them, because they have that greater meaning, greater vision of that idea. So I don't think necessarily life should be hard. Life should have meaning.
But life is hard.
It is. But I'm saying, sometimes it's a matter of perspective.
No. It's not a matter of perspective, Kabingu. It's not possible for life to not be hard.
It's like this.
Regardless of who you are.
You know the Buddha.
But Kevin, the Buddhist ideals are ideals. They are things that we are pursuing, Kevin.
Yeah, but the whole teaching is that embracing the
suffering.
Yes, you embrace that suffering and get meaning out of it.
But now you see, now the thing is, Kevin, why is there suffering in the first place? Because it's impossible for there not to have...
what Kelvin is trying to say is, even at the center of Buddhism is suffering.
Yes.
The whole point of Buddhism is how you can transcend suffering.
Yes, and within the ethos of suffering, let me tell you something called entropy, Kevin. Entropy is a reason why we cannot avoid suffering, Kevin.
I'm not saying avoid suffering. Like I gave the example of a martyr.
Yeah.
Being stoned or killed, that's bad. But the way I approach it, and for instance, like I said, having a greater idea for the matter, I'm doing this for God. There's something greater that awaits me.
But do you believe, Kevin? Do you believe that this matter? Do you believe
He'll suffer?
You'd rather not be killed? Yes.
No.
Nobody.
No.
Kevin.
No.
You are going against biology.
No. It depends. No, I'm not going because I know if you can convince yourself of something, some things don't really faze you that much.
But at the end of the day, faced with the option of, say, Christ being preached without me getting killed, or Christ being preached with me getting killed, biologically, this matter would go with Christ getting preached without me not getting killed.
Yeah, that's true. And
that's my point.
I'm not disputing that part of the argument. I'm saying the way we approach that suffering is going to be dependent on the meaning we have behind how we live our life.
What is meaning?
So, for instance, the martyr, the meaning for his life is preaching the word. He knows there is a greater thing or something greater that awaits him as he dies. So any suffering he gets doesn't really count as much to them because they know the end goal and what they'll achieve. That's the meaning gets you through suffering. It's like the same way you go to the gym. You work out, it's hard, but you know there's a gain at the end. Mm-hmm. There's something you're benefiting from it.
Yes.
So that's the meaning at the end.
But now you see, Kevin, ndio tunasema hivi, at least from my point of view, is that there's no running away. There's no running away.
And I'm saying no one runs away from it. I'm saying it's easier to do when you have meaning.
Yes.
So for instance, yes, we might advise someone, yes, save your money, do all that, be safe in that 5 years. Mm-hmm. But if my whole point of doing this is just for that safety, I think at some point I'll lose it.
But now you see, maybe you didn't get our point that it's not an issue so much of safety. Okay, safety is a big aspect of it. Safety is a massive.
So let's say it like this: I'm doing all these things. Maybe the meaning for me, like I give myself the meaning of I'm a father. Mm-hmm. If I don't do what is needed of me, my kids won't get food.
And that's what we are saying.
Yeah.
The reason why you are taking responsibility and looking into the future is for the wholesomeness of the person, the entire well-being of this person, whatever that means. It might mean your financial well-being. It might mean your psychological well-being. It might mean your financial well-being. It might mean your health. But making sure that the choices that you're making right now, having the understanding and the grasping of the fact that the effects of those decisions will manifest themselves in the future and adjusting accordingly. That is what we are saying. And meaning is a big part of that. Because again, that's why I'm asking you, again, it all depends on what do you mean by meaning.
Yeah, and I think the whole reason I was thinking about it is because, like you said, there are those successful people who get to their deathbed and still feel their life didn't have meaning.
Yes.
So it's like, is it what's important? I get the importance. I think I'm just struggling with the whole concept. I get the importance of all we said. Taking care of yourself now, taking care of everything now, anticipating what's coming in the future. But I'm at that point in the future, what was the meaning behind everything that drove me till that end?
So what is the alternative, Kevin?
I think maybe the easiest example, I like using Christianity because it's easier to understand. Christianity has those values which you live by, and there's the greater thing you believe. So it usually gives your life meaning as you're going through all these things you go through life.
So you're saying the alternative then is living in the now and hoping things will fix themselves in the future. That is what you're saying.
No. I'm saying
No, if I get you correctly, Calvin, Kabingu, what your question, or rather what you want to get, is that connection between the sacrifices being made now and that point in the future at which you will perceive the meaning, or rather you will perceive the whole point of all the sacrifices you made.
it's kind of that. I don't know. Like I'm saying, it's not something I truly understand how I'm asking it, but it's me acknowledging that I have seen people who have been extremely successful, but at the end of their life, they feel like I did live a life of meaning.
Now, so something else I think I've learned from this same guy is that meaning and purpose in life is found not in the attainment of whatever you're aiming at, but in that actual pursuit of the goal that
The journey, yeah.
or whatever you want to achieve, such that your life will have meaning when you're pursuing something. And Peterson actually says he's come across people that have done very well. Like someone has worked so hard pursuing their PhD, and they think that once they get their PhD, their lives will change. And then once they get it, they're depressed because what next now?
Yeah.
He says that meaning is found in that pursuit.
The journey.
And actually, so one of the things that he advises people that go to him for therapy is set some goals. Set some goals. Goals that are high, something to work towards. In that way, your life is going to coalesce around your aims, and in that sense, find meaning.
And actually, that's very true. Because, Kevin, that's very true, because I was actually thinking when Tito was talking, I think very few people get the chance to quote unquote reflect back on their lives. Very few people will get the chance to reflect their lives and say, maybe I lived a meaningful life, maybe I didn't. Majority, the rest of us, it's a lived experience, and then suddenly you die out of a road accident or malaria. But the thing is, the lived experience at that point in your future, like 20 years from now, continuously lived, what will be your experience like? How will you look at your life? The life that you're living at that moment, against the backdrop of the choices that you made in your earlier years. So I'm just saying, I don't think, as Stu is saying, the entire thing is not, it's an analog wave. It's not digital. It's not instantaneous. It's not at some point you're reflecting back, on the quote unquote life that you lived. I feel like it's a continual, lived experience.
And it's not really like reflecting back. And maybe back to my example of the missionary or the Christian, because they have that meaning in their life. Like you said, life is hard. It makes it bearable, like going through life. But if I'm just doing it, seeking the meaning in whatever, maybe for instance, I want to be financially stable, that's where I'll find my meaning as I'm doing it. Sometimes it gets hard, and maybe that's why we see people at some point losing their mind and committing suicide or whatever. Because maybe the life has gotten too hard for them. So it's, I don't, maybe personally, I think you should have meaning to make it bearable. Because we know life is hard. Meaning has to be part of that journey.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll kill myself.
That is the entire point of Tito and I think now we've all come to a circle where we've agreed that meaning is very, very central, Kevin, to the discussion.
But I think where we're disagreeing is you guys are saying we get meaning from starting to do what we're supposed to do.
No, I don't think that is what we said. I don't think that's what we said.
How you're saying we get meaning comes as you're doing what you're supposed to do?
No, we said meaning is part of the entire structure.
There is no one thing. Maybe your confusion is what this one thing that we're supposed to do.
And there's not one thing
part of it.
I'm not saying there's one thing. I'm saying everyone has something different that it will drive them. So it's having a meaning. Why I was using the example of a Christian is his life is geared towards God and heaven and all that. That's his meaning.
But Kevin, even that Christian, you see, that's the thing. Even that Christian, the point of meaning, I feel like it's such a multifaceted word. It's very, very deeply multi-layered, because, and as with most things, nothing is single layered. Meaning, my meaning is painting, because even this Christian has.
So, for instance, in painting, maybe if you look at guys like Akina Michelangelo and all that, for them, as they were Christians, it may be a form of worship for them. Meaning came from the worship, not the painting.
But now you see, now Kevin, my point is, that is what we perceive as the recipients of their works of art and deductions of their lives, the lives they lived. We might be tempted to perceive that the meanings of their lives was the paintings and the worship through those paintings. What if we are wrong? Maybe his entire meaning of his life was to provide for his mother, or to see the beautiful faces of people when they look at those things. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Meaning is a deeply multi-layered thing, because even that Christian, for example, that you brought up, that Christian is a mother, is an employee, is a citizen of this country, is a neighbor, is a child of a person. All these things, there are things that are happening that will contribute, quote unquote, to this meaningness that I'm talking about. So I'm saying, I think it's a very user-defined word. For example, we can't judge that the entire meaning of Leonardo da Vinci's life was painting. Maybe he loved fishing, and he felt one with nature when he's doing. I don't know if he fished or what. My point is, it's you to look at your life in its entirety and all the things that are happening in your life, and derive what is really, really, truly meaningful to you, and work towards that. I don't know if that makes sense. Even in my own head, I'm wondering what. but is it? Don't you think it's multi-layered? Don't you think? I
think we are starting to
go in circles.
I think our question is sort of evolving into something higher,
more philosophical.
Yeah, something more philosophical. But how? Just a thought on that is like how to live a meaningful life. Do something that matters. But what matters? Everything.
I don't think everything matters.
I think everything matters.
I don't know. Maybe it's there's, I don't know, is some things, like you said, picking your poison. If I can choose not to do something, then it doesn't matter.
It's going to matter if it's something you are supposed to do. Okay, but I think I don't know. I think we've confused ourselves here.
But essentially, maybe if in conclusion, everything we said at the beginning, I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's maybe just me overthinking it, but I don't know. Maybe there's someone out there who has that similar mindset. I'm doing all these things I'm doing, but what's the point? Like, yes, I'm providing for my family. Whatever, everything I'm doing, like I'm playing life. Life is hard. I understand that. I'm playing it the way I'm supposed to play it, but I have no meaning behind what I'm doing. So in the end, like, that's why we see, like I said, people committing suicide, and maybe we thought their life was going so well, they're providing so well, but there's something that they're struggling with, and life gets hard when, like, what you're doing becomes a burden to you. But when you have a greater idea, a greater meaning to whatever you're doing, you give an example of a mother. We see mothers throwing their kids away every day, killing their kids and all that. Yeah, but I'm thinking if having that greater idea makes you not want to kill that kid ukiona akifanya ujinga kwa nyumba, there's something greater you have to have in you. Maybe it's something more philosophical. You can discuss it another day, but I don't know.
Actually, I'm thinking we need to let's research on meaning, and then we can have an episode on it, because I don't think we've done it justice.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We had a very great time. We hope that you had a great time also. Till next time, bye. Welcome to Two Mics. Today we'll be discussing. Welcome to Two Mics. Today we are going to be discussing books that welcome to Two Mics. My name is Kelvin Moretti. Today I'm joined by Tito and Kabingu. We'll be discussing a few things about some books that we're reading that are very, very interesting. We hope that you are going to stay with us till the end. Karibuni sana. Welcome to Two Mics. Today we'll be discussing meaning. This is episode 1. We're definitely going to have another episode because meaning is such a profound thing. We hope you're going to enjoy. Karibuni.